listeners and readers of AwardsWatch.com. This is the Awards Watch Podcast, episode 298. I'm your executive editor, Ryan McQuade, and joining me today is Griffin Schiller.
Whoa! Hey, how's it going?
2 podcasts from Griffin in 1 month?
2 pods in a row. Yeah.
This is...
it's unheard of.
It's getting ridiculous up in here.
I know. I'm going to have to start paying rent.
Collect interest.
Yeah.
Griffin's here to talk about the latest release this upcoming weekend. He is here to talk about, are you ready? The Fantastic Four. He's here to talk about the latest film from Marvel Studios, the last film on their slate. And Griffin, the last time we will see Marvel for not just the remainder of this year, we will not see them next year, correct?
That is, unless... Oh, well, no. Did they move Doomsday?
They moved the date,
They moved the date. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So unless by some miracle they just push that movie forward, we will not see that movie. We will not see a Marvel movie.
No. We'll see them on the small screen. We'll see the Punisher special. We'll see...
Daredevil Season 2?
Unfortunately.
Yes.
Well, we got Wonder Man at the end of the year. Hey, yeah, we got him in there doing his thing.
Man, that television stuff where no one's watching it, right?
Yeah, I know.
But we're here to talk about Fantastic Four. I want to start somewhere else, though. It does still say that. Well, they have it on schedule actually for December 18th, 2026. Is when Avengers Doomsday is going to come out, which that's interesting, right? Avengers movie at Christmas time is kind of wild. We usually expect those to be in the summer because they've all been in the summer. So very interesting. Griffin, I got to ask you before we start about Fantastic Four. There was a long conversation that Kevin Feige had this past week before this film even was screened for most critics.
Right.
It was a long, deep dive and conversation as sort of like a wrap up of this multiverse post-in-game phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
And because the Fantastic Four is the start point for a brand new phase of the Marvel saga, correct? If I'm not mistaken in the timeline.
Yes.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So... which is weird because people still don't know when that timeline began and ended. And also, there was not an Avengers movie anywhere in sight within that time frame. So it's very interesting that in the last, 6 years, we have not had Earth's Mightiest Heroes. It will be 7 years since we've seen one of those kind of big films. But Feige was very open. And I'm curious about your perspective of some of the thoughts that he talked about in there, some of the mistakes they've made, how Feige is looked upon with his deal is almost up in 2 years. And that would, culminate in the deal being up by the end of Avengers Secret Wars, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So your thoughts, Griffin, on a very candid Kevin Feige.
Yeah, I liked how candid he was in the interview. I'm sure James Gunn being more candid about the DCU is probably what made him feel like he could be a bit more open and candid about the state of Marvel and stuff like that, since that's just kind of the status quo from these, tentpole blockbuster studio heads and stuff like that. But, that being said, he's also, I guess, kind of been a bit more candid as of late in general. Like, I think he did an interview a little while ago where he was pretty open about just like some of their missteps and the directions for what they have going on. So there were a couple of things that I thought was interesting. I mean, there's like one, like for as much as I appreciate how like open and honest he was about the whole thing, the quote in there about him saying that he's never been satisfied with a film that they release. He doesn't think they made a single like good movie is like actually an insane thing to say, especially because he is the one with all of the power to change that. Like, dude, who do you think released these movies? Like, you did. You greenlit the scripts. You put these things into production. If you didn't think that they were good, then why are you releasing them to the public? I mean, that's just kind of weird. I mean,
why put hundreds of millions of dollars into something you don't believe in?
Right, exactly. I'm like, oh, good. So nothing that you've made is great. Awesome.
I will also say I'm going to call bullshit on that. because
I think he's just a perfectionist, and he's like, I just like, like
I think I'm gonna call bullshit on it, because I guarantee you I could probably pull quotes. I'm gonna say it sounds so Trumpian, of the idea of, oh, we've never made anything great or wonderful.
Right.
We've never made everything perfect. I guarantee you he has made a statement where every one of these films being like, this movie's great. You're going to love it. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. He literally will probably say Fantastic Four is fantastic.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, you want to know how I also know he thinks he's made something great and spectacular? Is because, one, he's a people pleaser. But the other thing too is he's run these movies across the world. He's run Oscar campaigns for movies that are for not every one of these, specifically two, one that got in, one that did not, in Avengers Endgame and Black Panther. And they kind of technically did one for Black Panther too. And so like he clearly can say, if you're trying to run something for it to get credit that it would normally not get, it means you think that they're pretty special, buddy. Because that means you're going to have to talk about a movie for its entire year. But even beyond that, like, he has to build these things up. And it almost feels like, from when he said that to Griffin, I was like, oh, this is the guy that was like stuck over at Fox when they were making bad movies and can't be happy at the fact that they make good movies.
Right.
Like, I can, even as cynical as I am with the MCU, admit they've made some good movies. They've made some crap. Most of their television shows are crap. I wish he would be a little bit more candid and honest about that.
Well, I think he was, right? I think he talked about how just like the stretching themselves thin, focusing on quantity over quality really diminished that. And then specifically with the television shows, I think he talked about that being like a Chapek mandate, and like how the interconnectivity really just,
he caused this fatigue that's going on.
Yeah, exactly. And it was good to see him like admit that. I think for sure the television stuff has become a bit dire, and I think it exhausted people with this franchise sooner than it would have, simply because it's like, oh God, now we got to watch all these TV shows. Oh my God, how does this storyline connect to this? I mean, I think he talked about in the interview where he was like, Thunderbolts is a great film, but I don't think people went out to see it because so much of it relied on having seen the TV shows and like all these characters being from TV shows. And so like, it doesn't matter how great that movie is. You've already like kind of lost people on like thinking that they need to do this insane amount of homework just in order to go into that movie, which isn't true. You can go watch Thunderbolts and only know the cliff notes and it'd be good to go. It's still a really compelling film.
I think it's tough to market a movie about a group of people that you only really know two people.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
Bucky, and you know Yelena, and you really only know Yelena because of Black Widow, which a lot of people didn't see in theaters because it was on Disney Plus. So you had to go through there. And then her other time she's shown up is on the Loki series. Yeah. So like, again, it's relying on streaming and it's relying on television series. And that was the whole thing. Like, was instead of them, this is the Marvel is a victim of their own, a little bit of their demise, right? Because unlike Christopher Nolan, who pushed to have something like Tenet in theaters, unlike Cruise and Bruckheimer, who said we're going to hold off for Maverick until the theaters are stable, and they went full ahead and they just put their movie they put Black Widow on a streaming platform. And they almost put Shang-Chi, which became a bit of a box office success, and then they weren't going to do this for Spider-Man, but they came back with Spider-Man. What does that movie do, Griffin? It gives full nostalgia. So, of course, it becomes an event. And I think that's the thing that they've missed. They've had moments where they're making events, but they're not making full-on events. Like, Spider-Man No Way Home is an event film because it's having all the Spider-Mans that has ever been in these live-action forms on screen at once.
Right.
Whether or not
the same reason for Deadpool and Wolverine too,
I was just going to say Deadpool, Wolverine. And then as we get into Fantastic Four, I want to talk about Marvel right now.
Yeah.
I want to talk about also superhero movies right now. We talked about Superman. Superman's going to make what total at the box office when it's all said and done? What do you think worldwide?
Oh man. Um
Maybe six, maybe five, maybe somewhere in the
yeah.
middle. 500,
I
600?
yeah, maybe around there. I honestly I feel like it's gonna be pretty comparable to Superman, just because I think those two films are gonna play really well together in
Yeah.
the theater. They're
No, I
actually
wasn't talking
both.
about Fantastic Four. Like, I'm asking what Superman's going to probably make because it's sitting at around 400 and something,
Oh
like
yeah.
410.
I could
And
see. I could see Superman getting up there to like maybe like the 6 7. I mean, I'm trying to think of like what the ceiling is for a Superman movie. Like, what's the most that it's
well,
made?
Man of Steel was like in the 600s.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit, or I don't know, if a little bit higher, maybe around there. I think like something in the 600s, just because people are just now getting reacclimated with DC again. So
Does
yeah,
it not having, because I know the Snyder Bros and some idiot pundits out there are like, if
right.
Superman doesn't make as much as Man of Steel, what was the point? It's like we're in a different era, right? When
It
you
is
say
yeah,
because
completely. Yeah,
because you look at Captain America: New World,
yeah,
you know, a truly bad movie,
yeah, terrible. Yeah.
made next to nothing. Like, not what you would normally expect. Not of any of the other Captain America movies, that's for sure. Those have
Oh
all
yeah,
made
no, not at all.
probably comparable to the first Captain America film in terms of box office. And
Right.
even still, that one led right into an Avengers film,
Mm-hmm.
the first Avengers film.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Thunderbolts, which kicks off the summer. Usually, Marvel has done a good job with kicking off the summer.
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago, they had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and it rocked the house at the box
Mm-hmm.
office,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's just because, once again, James Gunn is sort of a proven property, and those Guardians movies are the most profitable trilogy in Marvel's history. I would
Mm-hmm.
definitely say Thunderbolts underperformed. Superman is kind of underperforming in certain ways. Like, you would assume the return of this character in a new form, a new franchise. James Gunn's attached to it. He's got his
Mm-hmm.
cachet. It's got great reviews. It's,
Mm-hmm.
like the second best reviewed Superman movie, and yet it's underperforming. The tracking for this movie is 200 worldwide. So the state of superhero movies, is it safe to say that Marvel's strategy of waiting all the way until next year and only having one movie is the right
Mm-hmm.
move going forward? Is the three
Yeah,
or four or all the television shows, like when he's talking about quality and quantity,
yeah.
are we just at the point now where it's going to have to be one of these maybe or two at the most? And then Disney and other companies have to start putting their money into other places?
I would think so, just because it's like these aren't the cash cows, or at least the reliable cash cows they used to be. And they probably still can be again, but you have to build up that trust again, just because I think Marvel has lost maybe not all of their trust, but a lot of their trust. And the only way that they're going to get it back is through making films like Thunderbolts or Fantastic Four and stuff that just actually shows that they give a shit, that they're putting attention and care into the craft of filmmaking, and also into the characters. And they're not alienating people who aren't watching the television shows. I mean, again, we'll get into that with Fantastic Four, but I think that is that film's greatest strength is its standalone nature. But then also, given the market, right? Like they have to also consider what DC is putting out. We have a Supergirl film coming out next year. Now the general audience understands what's DC and what's Marvel, but I think there's also a part of them that's just like, okay, well, it's superhero films, so we can only really take so many of these a year.
Yeah.
And we want them to be good, right? So I think weirdly, in a way, Gunn doing what he's doing with DC, I mean, is going to cause Marvel to be a bit more selective about the films that they choose to greenlight and put into theaters. And so this competition that we finally have here, which has been sorely missing because Marvel has been dominating that forever, is going to cause, I would hope that it would cause Marvel to be like, okay, we're only going to maybe put 2 films out this year, one towards the beginning of the year, maybe to kick off the summer, and then one in November. Sort of what they used to do in phase 2 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then yeah, maybe like 1 or 2 television shows a year.
Yeah.
Similarly spaced out. That feels like a good plan of attack going forward. I mean, like even in that interview, right? Like Feige was talking about the fact that he was like, he wanted to talk with the VFX team behind the creator because he was bewildered how they were able to make that movie look as good as it did for $80 million.
It's probably because that team respects their visual artists.
Their filmmaker, yeah. And the way Gareth Edwards works is
don't rush post.
He doesn't rush post and like while still being able to shoot on the fly. I think the great thing about Edwards is that ILM is a key creative collaborator from the get-go.
Yes.
So they're working on shit really intimately, and like because he has a sense of where these VFX go because of his background in VFX, he's able to be like, all right, so this space would probably work for that. So I can shoot it this way. We could frame things like this. It's like that. Yeah, we can maybe like cheat this. It's just like you have a filmmaker in there with a working knowledge of post-production. And so he's able to do stuff like that. And I don't think Marvel has ever really considered, hey, maybe you should hire filmmakers that understand that, or you should have a close working relationship with your post-production team in order to make stuff look really fucking good and give it time to cook. And I think, with Fantastic Four, that shows
I was going to make this transition into that, yeah.
But I was just going to say, it shows that they can do it. They can do it. So you just have to like really give a shit and make that a priority.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think it's a good thing for them to be dialing back the excess. I think Kevin Feige saw Superman and was like, fuck, I wish I made that. And now is spiraling in an existential crisis.
Well, I mean, James Gunn had a really interesting, revealing conversation. I forgot which podcast he was on. I think it was like like one of the nerd podcasts that are out there.
Yeah,
I think Koi John Drew or whatever his name is.
On the DC one, the DC podcast.
Yes, okay, the DC podcast. They talked about. He talked about how, James Gunn, which we forgot to kind of mention on the Superman episode, which is that he's gone through the ringer, the old tweets that circulated. Marvel essentially canceling him and firing him from Guardians 3.
Yeah.
That turn is when Warner Brothers and the people over there asked him, they asked him about doing Superman. He said not interested in doing that at the moment. He then did the Suicide Squad. Feige calls him back after a petition with the cast and everything. Feige and them essentially apologized to James Gunn. For Gunn's words, he said, I can't do Guardians 3 right now. I have to do something else. And Feige's first response was, you're doing Superman? And it was, and the way that Gunn said it, it sounded as if Feige was mad and annoyed. And it was, and also just like, oh shit, he's gonna do Superman because he knows that James Gunn is the type of filmmaker that can legitimize. Not that, and I'm not throwing shade at Zack Snyder, but Zack Snyder is not somebody that I think makes movies for the masses anymore. He makes it for his cult. James Gunn makes $1 billion movies.
Absolutely, yeah.
He makes popcorn entertainment that people love.
Yeah.
And that can attach themselves to.
Yeah.
And totally. and make you and take you to places you never thought you were going to do. He can make you laugh. He can make you cry. He's got the secret sauce that's perfect for it.
Yeah.
He moves on from Marvel. He goes to this. They give him full control. He's thriving regardless of how the Superman movie does. I think in the long term, on VOD, I think, once it's on streaming, I think the next whatever Superman or the next phase of that entire property, I think they'll do fine. I think they'll do great. I think they're going to continue to do good because James Gunn is at the helm. He has a specific mindset of quality.
Yeah, yeah,
He's talked about that. The scripts aren't, if he doesn't think the script's good, he's not greenlighting it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that goes back to what then Feige's talking about, which is the quantity over the
Hmm.
quality. And that's, I think somebody's seeing that, and then they become the head over there at Warner Brothers and realize, okay, I have to do quality because that's what matters, because audience matters about quality rather than sitting through Thor the Dark World and some of the crap that you've had to sit through during Marvel's tenure, which is some very empty calories in order to get to the meals that
Totally. Yeah,
matter.
yeah.
And that is where we find ourselves with Fantastic Four. We find ourselves now at an impasse where they have had a rough year.
Hmm.
They
Hmm.
have delayed projects like Blade, like
Oh,
even
that's
the
another thing in that
the
interview. That I thought was,
the Blade
dude,
stuff was crazy.
That's insane.
That
He's
they've
like,
had
well, we don't want to have a guy in a trench coat just like killing vampires. I'm just
What
like,
the fuck are
yeah,
you talking about?
I was like,
That's what we
fucking
want.
Blade. I'm like, that's fucking Blade, dude.
That's
What are you
Blade,
talking
man.
about? God, it's just classic.
He has that.
Yeah,
He has the X-Men.
yeah,
There's and whatever the fuck he's gonna do with that. He's got
yeah,
all these other characters that are off on their own side missions and quests that he's got to put them all together.
yeah.
He's got this. He had comments about bringing back Captain America and Iron Man and recasting those at a certain point, which is
Hmm.
just like, wow, we're already at that point of this of the cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Um, and then of course he still has a Spider-Man sequel that they're working on once Tom Holland's done working with Christopher Nolan.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
they have this next Avengers movie. They have this Avengers movie that they're all shooting right now. But this is all the lead up from Fantastic Four from Matt Shankman, who we
Hmm.
all know
Hmm.
Matt Shankman, who make it, if we're gonna say about their streaming services, he made the most successful product on their streaming services with WandaVision. Regardless
Yeah,
of
he
what you
did.
think of
Yeah.
Loki, if you think Loki's better, for sure. But in terms of fans, critical consensus, and even at the Emmys, WandaVision was their most successful thing across the board.
It was.
And
Yeah.
Shankman
Absolutely.
had a vision. He literally a WandaVision. And it
Hmm.
was very successful. He takes over this to try to give Marvel's first family a legitimate launching point in
Hmm.
from and actually just a legitimately great or good movie.
Yeah.
I think that the Fox movies with Alba and Chris Evans and all those
Hmm.
movies are what they were because of the time. There's also the infamous Fan Four Stick, with Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
One of the worst comic book movies, not necessarily because of what Josh Trank did, though he's
Yeah.
not helping the situation if you read some of that stuff, but definitely a lot of studio didn't know what they were doing. Trank was a Max Landis is the writer. A lot of things that are just a boiling point to a disaster, and ultimately just one of the worst decisions probably any of those people made in their careers.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting lead up to Fantastic Four, also, Griffin, because we've literally only seen the same clip two times in a row. Like over and
Hmm.
over again, it's this dinner thing about the family and trying to build up that dynamic. That was very worrisome. But this cast, which is Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Eben Ross Baccarat, and Joseph Quinn,
Hmm.
have been widely considered to be very good casting, a lot of fan casting for those online, but generally the right people to put in those parts.
I would say, just as a
Yeah.
qualifier, while most people feel that way, I was only really convinced on Eben and Vanessa Kirby. I thought those were the two that actually felt like inspired casting. And Pedro, I was like, okay, what are we doing here? That's not Reed Richards. And then Joseph Quinn, I was like, what the fuck are we doing here? That's not Johnny Storm. That is really bad casting. So those were my initial apprehensions going in, but I know
I didn't have an issue with any of them. I kind of
that.
thought it
Hey,
fit
fair.
with I thought it fit with Kirby, the sort of the
Yeah.
look. Um I honestly in Eben Most Rockrat, I was not particularly like I thought that was good casting too. I was worried a little bit about Pedro Pascal because I
Yeah.
feel a little
Yeah.
bit of that Pedro Pascal trying to play literally, I think one of the most important figures in the Marvel comics. Reed Richards is literally the smartest man on the planet. and outside of like Tony Stark and Charles
Yeah.
Xavier. Going forward for this, Reed's going to play a massive part in all of this, especially in Doomsday. So the idea of Pedro, I didn't know if he had the. I love Pedro Pascal as an actor. I just didn't know if he had the was the right qualifications to play Reed Richards. That being said, also too, Pedro Pascal's in everything right now, so it just also kind of felt like we are living in his world.
Yeah.
Though he's had a good year. He's at least one of the good parts in Eddington, and I did love him in Materialists. So, but Griffin, we've seen the film. We've been dancing around it.
Sure.
We've been talking and leading all this build up, much like the Marvel Cinematic Universe itself, to Fantastic Four. What did you think of the film itself, though?
Film, I thought it was really delightful. It made me happy, I guess is the best way to put it. Like it's I maybe like quaint is a weird way to phrase it, but it was just the scale while dealing with like doomsday apocalyptic kind of stuff there with the emergence of Galactus and like the end of the world and stuff like that. I think the self-contained nature helped make this feel more palatable and in smaller scale and whatnot. But I'll tell you, it took like no time at all for me to lock into this thing and just be like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted from a Fantastic Four movie. Specifically, if you're going to set it in like a retro future instance. I mean, I think the first 5 minutes of this movie actually were shown during the live stream of the premiere or something like that, because they're online and it hasn't been taken down.
Yeah.
And all I got to say is like, those whatever like length of time, that opening where they go through the origin and then it kind of goes through like their greatest hits and their like the the glory days montage and stuff like that. I was giddy. I was so fucking giddy. I was just like, yes, it's like, this is the Fantastic Four. This is just like quintessential comic book characters saving the day, fighting ridiculous villains, saving people in New York. There's celebrities. You've got people on the street who have like opinions about them. Like there was an element to this. Like I love that when they interviewed that one woman at the start of the film, and I was just like, yes, we're finally getting like a perspective from people about these guys as heroes and like why they're basically viewed as rock stars in this universe. And then also the other thing that I loved about it, they are the only superheroes on the planet. Like, I think that makes it so much cooler because now you don't have to worry about like, oh, how is this going to cross over with this and all this? And it's just like, no. It's just like, it's Fantastic Four. It's their world. And like, they are the protectors of this world. And so, yeah, I mean, like, if you loved what Shackman did with WandaVision in terms of like aesthetic, in terms of practicality, in terms of sets and that level, that attention to detail and how he was able to pretty authentically bring to life these throwback sitcoms. I mean, he dials it up to 11 here. I mean, there is such a meticulous attention to detail in the sets. The Baxter Building is like ripped straight out of the pages of the comics. It's incredible. All these different set pieces. Reed's lab, just like the living quarters and whatnot. Like this is the most lived in, or I guess not lived in, but this is the most like alive the MCU has felt in terms of just like a world building standpoint. I felt like I understood this place down to its core and like how they were perceived by the people and the shifting of that perception once the threat becomes a bit more apparent. And then and then some of the like editing flourishes, right? Like you see from the trailers, like the split screen stuff, and then how it's like being intercut with like the Ted Gilbert show or whatever and stuff like that. Like all of that was just like it was so well done, and it never felt like it dipped into excess or anything like that. They were all just flourishes that were incorporated in there in order to make the world feel distinct and alive. It wasn't a gimmick, which I think it very could have easily veered into. It was all done with intent. This was how Matt Shackman envisioned this world, and it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. I mean, even down to like the New York City sets. Like it reminded me of like old movies where it's just like they used to like build a set and they would like shoot like things just around that set because like that's where the money is going, so we're going to find ways to incorporate those big sets into as many set pieces as possible. And they really did that with like New York City and the use of miniatures and like Ralph Ineson as Galactus, right? Like actually being there, walking on set in costume. Like it was just, there was an old school sensibility to this that I found remarkably refreshing. It reminded me of watching like old 50s sci-fi B movies, and just like how the plot is very like macro driven, but then it was able to incorporate some of the more intimate character stuff that we get like from the 21st century cinema and stuff like that I found really, really endearing. It's cosmic, it's weird. There's parts of this that reminded me of Star Trek. So much of it actually reminded me of just Star Trek in general, which I thought was pretty cool. And then the family, right? Like the crew, I thought that they were all super endearing. I love how their interactions, you get a sense of who they are just through the actors playing them. I think what the movie lacks perhaps in depth when it comes to just like character moments or letting stuff breathe and sit for a little bit, it makes up for in allowing the actors to really bring the humanity out of those characters. Like so much of what works about the Fantastic Four rests on the shoulders of the actors playing them, and how they understand these characters down to their very core. And so they're able to pull stuff out of it that maybe isn't as explicit. And also similar to it's kind of similar to Superman in that regard, where we're entering a world already in progress, where characters have histories, where there's a status quo here and whatnot, and we have to get acclimated to it, and we're getting introduced to it. But what I feel like this movie did a little bit better than Superman was easing you into it. I think that opening montage and stuff, and then getting to experience life with the Four through their brief little quips and interactions really clued you in on these people and the kinds of personalities that we'd be following throughout the film. And so like, yeah, it was just like it was just so delightful. It was really like hopeful to really optimistic. It's similar to Superman. The whole idea of trying to, that one life is not worth the sacrifice of your own humanity, of valuing life and coming together as a family to confront the unknown. I thought that was a really brilliant way of doing this. I have my issues for sure. Like I said, I think it's a bit too simple. It's a bit too breezy at times, but that's also kind of what I liked about it as well. Like, I felt like I was watching feature length Jetsons at times. And I think that's, I don't know. I had a great time with it. I walked out with a smile on my face, maybe not moved emotionally to the extent that I was with something like Superman, which I thought really nailed the character and the emotional heft of what was going on there. But I that's not to say this movie doesn't have emotions. I mean, it does. It's just, I don't know. It was a good time. It was a really good time.
So I have been on the record of stating that earlier this year, both on the Brave New World and in the Thunderbolts episode, that if Fantastic Four does not stick the landing and is not good, and maybe also doesn't also have a box office success, then Marvel is done.
Yeah.
They're done. They can't do this anymore. They'll have their Avengers movies, but after that, they'll be pretty screwed. And after those, I mean, God knows what those are going to be. What the world is going to be after that, what these characters are going to be. God knows what that's going to be.
Right.
But it feels like what Feige also said in his thing is that these two Avengers movies coming up, it's going to basically reboot everything and they can start from scratch. Which honestly is a smart move because they've dug themselves in such a hole of not having a cohesive plan in place like they did with the Infinity Saga. They had a clear plan and they executed and they nailed it. Right. And Infinity War and Endgame are the byproduct of that, which is great. So I went into Fantastic Four also a little just curious because, Matt Shankman is not a person that we're all lining up a year in advance to buy tickets for. You know what I mean? We're not, we're not.
Right. He's
we're
not an auteur.
We're not buying stock into Matt Shankman and the things that he's doing. You know what I mean? It's on paper, Matt Shankman is a John Watts-esque figure. Because you're just like, hey, no. Hear me out. Because I knew you were going to say, no. But he is a person that made most of their success in the MCU. Mm-hmm. But outside of that, there's nothing really you can have as a calling card. Because like John Watts' last film, Wolves, was a colossal failure.
Oh yeah, not a good movie. Not a good movie.
And same for the Russos. They are the kings of this. Yeah, where they have gone off, made other films, wasted millions of dollars, and have nothing to show for it. Mm-hmm. And then of course, then they crawl back to make 2 more Avengers movies.
Right.
So I haven't liked a Marvel movie in a long time. Mm-hmm. It's been a while.
You didn't like Thunderbolts?
No.
Oh, okay.
I had problems with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because also none of these movies matter.
No, sure. Yeah.
And none of these movies actually mean anything. And they also don't have, I think, really anything interesting to say with characters. Mm-hmm. They feel like PowerPoints. Like even Thunderbolt feels like a PowerPoint. Brave New World, that's the biggest fucking PowerPoint I've seen in a while. Oh, yeah, Quantumania, even to a certain extent, like Deadpool Wolverine. It's a Deadpool movie. It's trying to tie itself into the MCU. I found that more interesting as an exercise of what do you do when you what does a corporation do when they gain a successful property and the characters of its past? Like what do they, what is it as an entity of the legacy of superhero movies rather than when they start doing all the stuff with Marvel? It's like, I don't give a shit about, I don't want Deadpool in that crap.
Yeah.
So I just missed the idea of it being about characters. Mm-hmm. I missed it about being about really something more than let's tie this into 900 storylines that amount to a big event that's going to happen next December. And what's crazy is that Fantastic Four should be doing that because it's the lead up to Doomsday.
Right.
But it refuses to do that. And I actually think, Griffin, this movie is very good. I think that this is the best Marvel movie since the original Black Panther.
Damn.
And the reason why I say this is because I think that it is based in character and character first and is emotional. It's not manipulative. Mm-hmm. I bought into these characters. Like the action sequences for the first 2/3 of this movie take secondary to character development. It also does the sort of James Gunny thing that he did with Superman where I don't have to explain to you who the Fantastic Four is too much outside of just who they are to the context of this world in the 1960s in this Earth 828, which is a callback to the birth date of the originator of the Fantastic Four, one of the originators of Fantastic Four, Jack Kirby. Mm-hmm. That's the month and the day he was born. And so that's his planet in this universe here. And I noticed that early on, and then at the end credit scene, I was like, oh, that's a nice touch. That was a very nice touch. I think that this movie is it just moves. Matt Shankman, between WandaVision and this, has a visually appealing, pleasing understanding of the type of production he wants to make and executes those details down to the finest point. And I think that he is beyond a John Watts. I think that they have found somebody inside their own machine that can make effective things that speak beyond characters that we all know and we're tired of seeing and make you give a shit about them with these
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's such an effective thing to do while also making visually aesthetic movies that are very well edited, very well performed, getting an absolutely incredible score from Michael Giacchino, who I think should be up for considerations for the Oscars for this thing.
It's an incredible score.
It
It's an incredible
evokes
score.
it evokes the comic books, the Saturday morning cartoons of the 60s and 70s vibe of that totally.
Hmm.
It evokes Brad Bird and what he did with The Incredibles.
Totally.
It evokes the Star Trek films that J.J. Abrams was doing during the Kelvin run of that series.
Yeah.
It just evokes fun.
Hmm.
And it evokes also the idea of a simplistic, contained story can still be done within Marvel. And the only time this movie tries to attempt to expand itself is in the end credit scene, much like the first fucking film in this entire franchise, Iron Man. And what's crazy about that is Favreau understood you needed to make a good movie before you can make a great franchise. This franchise has, for me, not made a good movie in a while. So it is beyond refreshing to see a good movie here.
Totally.
And now they can have their good franchise. Now they can make their Avengers movies and more Spider-Mans. And it justifies itself because you're building Doomsday off the foundation of this. And it made me at the end of it go, okay, I think I want to watch Avengers Doomsday. Now I know that the Russo brothers are not Matt Shankman, for God's
Yeah,
sakes.
they're
And they're
not.
gonna screw it up
Yeah.
and it's gonna look terrible, unlike this movie. Though the CGI in this movie, especially in the third act, is a bit rough. I don't think that they fully I think they utilize Reed Richards as the man, the father, the partner, the brother-in-law, the friend, the scientist really well. I think Pedro Pascal is absolutely fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, he killed it.
I think they're all fantastic, and I'm not
Yeah,
using
yeah,
that
they
as
are.
as like a no
Right,
puns
right.
be damned. I think they are all fantastic in this movie.
Yeah.
Something that Pedro Pascal is doing, the ideas in this movie of, you're right, giving up the most precious thing on the planet would be your child to save everyone else. And in a world realizing, well, why can't we trust that they're making the right decision?
Yeah.
They can't, because in our own human abilities we would become selfish in that moment and scream and holler and want the change to happen. Like immediately we would want answers. We would be angry, and justifiably so. We would start to second guess whether these people are actually saving us with their best intentions.
Yeah.
And the movie goes out of its way of, in pretty good monologues, and explaining that, like, this is a uniquely human thing to want to not give up what is ours based off of our childhood and our trauma.
Right.
And you're right, it weirdly does fit the narrative that Superman was going after in that film
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. And these two movies mirror each other, which is very interesting because they're sort of made at the same time, and they're made to be enemies of one another, but they're actually allies
Yeah.
in the message that they're trying to tell. This movie, though, I think is a little bit, if you is more American than you would say even that one. But even so, because like there's this, the things that are nostalgic about Superman in that film are nostalgic here. You have the space program exploring. You have the fact that they are the only superhero in this world, and that's a very lonely thing. And the idea of just wanting to try to be normal. They tackle that a little bit here, but there's that scene that they've been showing 1,000 times with the dinner scene. It's actually really effective because this group doesn't have what the other iterations of Fantastic Four we see on the screen have. They're all connected. There's not a moment where they're angry with one another, based off of silly.
Reed.
Well, they're not angry at each other because of forming a team. They're already a team.
You're talking more like domestic disputes versus.
I'm talking,
like an actual, okay,
exactly.
Yeah, okay,
like they're angry because of the decisions they have to make because of the plot of this movie.
Right.
They're not angry at like well, I'm a rock guy. Well, I'm a flame guy. Oh, well, Johnny's annoying me. This like no, they actually generally all are a family.
Yeah,
and you buy into that. Like this is the first time Marvel's first family has actually been depicted as a family, which is a very unique thing because like it always felt like we were just putting a group of people together. Like Sue and Reed, this is the first time they've been married on the big screen. The dynamics of that, like, by the end of the second Rise of the Silver Surfers when they're married. Right. So they're not technically married. That dynamic, like this would be like the pickup of that, you know? So we are thrown into a world where these characters already exist. They are political figures. They are entertainment figures. They are staples within the culture and the fabric of not just America, but of the world. Right. And the world has accepted that they are the ones that are going to save them. And I love the montage of villains. I love the just the idea of like they would go on that they have PR people that they would have to answer for that. Like they have, I think that the scene when they come back from Galactus and Reed is talking to the press, I actually thought that was super effective in the way that Shankman directs that, uses the space and sort of, makes these larger than life figures feel absolutely encapsulated by the decisions that they've had to make. I think that the movie is deeply emotional and highly impactful with that. I do think though, and I do have some qualms with it as well. I think that Sue is kind of a little bit underridden, even though they claim that she is technically the public face in a lot of ways of the Fantastic Four, and Reed is sort of the leader behind the scenes, and she's sort of the leader in explaining their policies and forward. I wish she had more to do. I wish the Silver Surfer plot line was a little bit done better.
That's a big qualm for me because I thought it was super compelling and interesting, and her relationship with Johnny I found to be equally as compelling. But yeah, I mean, she's no better than what Doug Jones and Lawrence Fishburne did in Rise of the Silver Surfer, which isn't I thought that was a good interpretation of that character, and I thought that character was also compelling in that film, but there wasn't enough there to really fully make it land. So like when what happens at the end of the film happens at the end of the film, I wanted to feel more from that decision. I need a couple moments more between her and Galactus in order for that moment to carry weight, because really it's a moment for her, but it feels more like a moment because I don't feel as much for her. It feels more like a moment for Johnny. Yeah. When really it should be a moment for both of them equally.
No, for sure. It really should. And I think that the third act, it's just the fault of these movies. But man, like when it starts getting all McClunky and you get like frickin' Galactus there and everything, like that's when the CGI starts to really show, and it's just Marvel's problem of like they don't have great visual designers because they basically use like a sweatshop to get these things made, but I still think that the ending was incredibly emotional and impactful. It's all centered around their son, and I thought the birthing sequence in space was actually really great. It was very Lost in Space, Star Trek evoked. I thought that I just thought that the ending, Pedro and Vanessa Kirby have incredible chemistry, and it shows throughout this film, and it really shines through there. Evan Moss-Baccarat is great as Ben Grimm. He's fantastic. He has another thing that I wish was a little bit more explored was his relationship with Natasha Lyonne, and a little bit more of the street level stuff I think would have been great to show,
because those moments were actually my favorite moments of the whole film, where you got Ben's because so much of Ben in these movies has been about him feeling like an outcast or feeling like he doesn't belong or he's not accepted because of his outward appearance or whatnot. In this, it's like, well, we've already gone through that. He's already kind of accepted what he is. What he wants is normality. He wants, like he said, he has that line in the film where he's like, I love kids. And he's like, he wants to have kids. He wants to have intimacy in some capacity. He wants that small communal life that he grew up having in Brooklyn. And it felt so real and authentic. And like, yeah, like the little moments he has with Natasha Lyonne, it's like you get, like, he's almost afraid to get a little close because you'll be disappointed in like not being able to have the life he has, or maybe out of rejection. You know, there's a little bit of self-consciousness there. And I was like, fuck, I want to live in that section of the movie for much longer than these short little vignettes, because it was an interesting way to take that character that was still in line with all of the stuff that you get when he's first, you know, when he wakes up and he finds out that he's a rock man, but it's like the next evolution of that. And also just, you know, it ties back into that idea of trust that I think is at the core of this film, which is, you know, learning to trust people in order to, you know, for the greater collective and whatnot. And I think for him, he needs to learn to kind of like trust his instincts a little bit more. I mean, really, a lot of people need to learn to trust their instincts in this film, but I think, yeah, like it's just, oh God, those were my favorite moments, because those are the moments where you really feel like Eben is bringing out the soul of this character in such a deeply nuanced way. It's like, oh, I get why you cast that guy for him. It was super compelling. Yeah.
No, and I think he's wonderful. You know, again, I just think that those are little things, but the movie, under 2 hours, if I'm not mistaken, or like right around it, like very close
it's like
to
an hour
it.
40 something.
It moves so effectively, that it doesn't allow itself to have any fat added to it, which I kind of got to commend, because then it doesn't get stuck in the mud. No. It doesn't allow it. It has to. It's moving, and that's why I kind of was like, I think Matt Shakman should be making the Avengers films.
He absolutely should be. Yeah,
he should be. When these things are done, he should be making the next thing. He should be doing X-Men. He should be the focal point. He should be like Favreau. He should be the next guy that takes over the reins, because he's effectively made something that's so easily packageable for something that also, I don't know if a lot of people were like wanting to see another Fantastic Four movie. Because of the disasters that the other ones were, or just because like they don't need to see it. But the idea of like making an effective film that's under 2 hours, that gives you this, that makes you lived in within this world, that have these characters and their emotions and their strifes fully fledged out, while giving them small moments of humanity. I think of the scene where I think of Reed trying to make sure that their son, making an entire machine to make sure that their son is not affected by their gamma radiation,
right?
But doesn't have time to make the crib, so hands that off to what is it, Herbie?
Yeah, Herbie. Yeah,
which is a wonderful addition that has not been in the Fantastic Four other iterations either. Yeah. Is this robot that provides great comic relief, I think, and works really well with all the characters, and is not annoying. So he's a little bit like the film's Crypto in a lot of ways. But then I think there's the moment where they come back from Galactus, the son is born, and they are there. He's it's one of the best scenes in the movie, maybe one of the best scenes Marvel's ever had. It's this father who is doing his damnedest to save the planet, save his son. He's testing him again, and he just is talking to his son. And it's just a moment, man, that we haven't seen in a lot of these movies lately, where they just slow the fuck down, and they just build it off of characters and Pedro Pascal, and allow these great actors that they have on retainer to just carry the scene. And Pedro Pascal does a great job of doing that. And I was just, I was just so impressed by the fact that this movie, with all the things that it's trying to do, could have done, it actually has more of those scenes built into it. You know, Sue's angry at Reed and she lashes out, goes invisible, and runs away. But it's not 45 minutes of trying to get her back.
Right.
She understands. There's an understanding that these characters have. So fluff is gone. Like, they understand themselves better than anyone. And therefore, it doesn't have to, this movie doesn't handhold the audience, which is kind of great. Like, it's just like, she's mad, but then she makes that speech.
Yeah.
And it's like, because she understands Reed's actually right. And she hates that he's right. So humanistically, she would yell and scream like, we don't want to give up our son. We don't want to, but we're going to have to use him one way or another, potentially as bait. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have to do this as a family, and we're going to have to risk. Mm-hmm. And that I found so interesting. Yeah, of just making the risk more personal and showing it rather than telling it. Because I think Marvel has a tendency to just be like, the risk is everyone on the planet. And it's like, no, what if we just made it about these 4 people?
Exactly. It's like they managed to do their planetary, doomsday threat, but make it really intimate by making it about this family and the potential of losing their kid. And like, obviously, if they lost their kid, then like the whole planet would die as well. So it's something that I think more of these movies need to do is they need to take the macro and make it micro in a sense, and make it more like, this is your way into caring about the destruction of the planet per se.
Well, that is their world. A child is their world.
The child is their world. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, kind of piggybacking off of what you said, so much of this film, like what I was kind of talking about at the beginning, where it's like you get kind of clued into their relationships just by them being. And I think that was especially true of Reed and Sue, where it's like they're already married. And so you kind of get a sense of like, they don't explicitly like recount or talk about like why they love each other and whatnot. You just kind of get it. They're the opposite of one another, where like Sue is really instinctual and emotional and very much like, she's like the empathy figure who is willing to take things on faith and place trust in people. And like Reed, is the cynic, right? He's like overly cynical, and like it's because he's like burdened by the knowledge of just like this vast universe. And so he's like really cold. And I think what he did exceptionally well, Pedro did exceptionally well, was play the coldness of Reed in a way that I don't think an actor has been able to prior. I really liked what Yowan Gruffa did with Reed Richards in the Tim Story films. I thought he did a good job of playing up the arrogance factor, which is really, crucial to that character just because of his ego and whatnot. But I never thought that he was super cold and, I don't know, like caught up in the numbers to such a
He's caught up in his own mind calculations rather than seeing the humanity that's right there.
Exactly. And so in like this, I really, really believed that with Pedro's performance. But you bring up that scene with his son. That was one of my favorite scenes as well, because it's almost an admission of just everything that he's sort of feeling, right? Like he's hyper fixating on trying to figure out this threat with his son and being like, what's wrong with my son? It's like Galactus told me like something is wrong with him. He's going to like be this giant threat. And it's like this nature versus nurture thing where it's like, yeah, he may have great powers, but that doesn't mean that his future is already predetermined. And yet in like Reed's mind, everything is predetermined because the numbers kind of add up, and he has to kind of let that be and recognize that like, no, you need to nurture this person in order for them to become or have a better chance of becoming the person that you hope that they become. And it's perfectly contrasted with Galactus, who, like, I don't think is the deepest Marvel villain, but it's also, like, it doesn't have to be because it's fucking Galactus. He's just, like, a giant doomsday figure. But what they managed to do, which I thought was remarkably effective, was he's, like, kind of the counterpoint to that, right? It's like he wants to nurture Franklin Richards for nefarious intent so that, he could exploit him and then have his rest and whatever. And it's like Reed is being confronted with that perspective of how the child is going to be raised. And so that's it. So he just kind of like takes that at face value and is like, I don't know. He doesn't really do well with that. He doesn't do well with variables or the unknowable. And I think Sue is the person who is able to comfort him with that and just let him know that's like, hey, let's just be present here and we will work through this together because we have trust in one another. And that was I fully got like why they gravitated towards each other because of that. And then on the flip side, when Sue starts to kind of like lose control and she's like, trying to be this very empathetic being and trying to see the humanity in all things, including her child, be this, loving parent. And Reed kind of confronts her with the reality of like, hey, logically, like I know it's like not what we want to do in our hearts, but like we do have to consider the possibility of goading out Galactus with our son. It is the only way that we are going to save him. And I think her recognizing that, like, yeah, he's right, is such a powerful decision. I mean, it causes her to go invisible and lash out, and it's like you get that really. She feels like she's breaking her own humanity, but she also recognizes it's necessary. And so I thought that was super, super powerful, the way the two of them kind of like balance each other and the way that they're able to comfort each other, because you see Reed being that calm, steady, just like sure-handed presence when she's giving birth during this insanely like cosmic chase with the Silver Surfer. Like that, like him being that steady hand for her. It's like, yeah, I get it. I get why these two have that connection that they do. It was really, really, really well done. I was surprised at how effective it was.
Going back to your thing on the Silver Surfer here, I like Julia Garner. I thought she did a good job. I just wish there was just more there, more in terms of the sacrifice with her and Galactus and really building up potentially her endangered servitude, and everything, but also the idea of what Johnny does to break the code and get and to show the levels of humanity of what her actions have done, of their actions have done, and her and Galactus. I thought that was actually really effective, and then Shankman using the flashback to show that Silver Surfer was just this person. She was a mother, no different than Sue when she made this tough decision, and showing the sort of two sides of the coin of making a choice or decision to be for and against Galactus in a lot of ways. And but I the only thing I had about Sue that I just kind of, she's the most powerful one of the Fantastic Four. And again, it just goes to a little bit more to her character development. I wish that they would have, Shankman or the writers would have just dived into it, because that final moment in the climactic ending is to explain that, and how powerful she truly is you need maybe a scene or two of like Reed explain, or maybe it's in the montage, or Reed explains it or something, that because I think that it builds then in this connection, and it even enhances maybe the fact that this is a mother using every ounce of her power to save her child. And then the sort of idea of then being of her saving her son saving her.
That was.
I got to tell you, there was also another thing that I thought about when I was watching the film, especially in that moment too, was I was just thinking about the Wachowskis. And the Wachowskis have this thing built inside them within Speed Racer and then the Matrix films. They have this idea that the power of love is the only thing that can really save you in this universe. And Marvel has just never had something like that, not even close.
It's all like artificial. It never.
I've never. The only relationships that I've actually connected with, or think are legitimate, is because the actors have sold them themselves. Like I think Downey and Tom Holland have electric chemistry. And I think there's like a father-son relationship because Peter lost Uncle Ben and doesn't have a fatherly figure in there. I think of Thor and Loki, this brotherly connection, right? I think Clint and Natasha.
But
They
yeah,
o-
Clint
these
and Natasha, Clint and
they
Wanda
these two,
too.
Clint and Wanda in
Yeah.
some ways, but then of course, you know, Shuri and T'Challa.
Hmm.
These it's siblings, it's family. These people are tied together. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
And those are the ones that strike true. But then when you put them all in a group setting, like I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I'm not getting emotional about it. You know what I mean? Like Bucky and why does Winter Soldier work so much? Because it's two friends that have known each other since they were kids, before Serum, before anything else.
Yeah.
And so I felt like over the last how many ever films, Griffin, they have gotten away from let's tie this into about people, about that these superheroes are people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they have emotions, and they're gonna fight for. They need to fight for what is theirs,
Right.
and that's ultimately, I think, what then makes this movie so great is that it's so singular and focused, and doesn't have to do any of that other stuff. But yet, I got to talk to you.
Hmm.
This movie settles. Fantastic Four will return. Da 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 da
Hmm.
da 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 da. We'll totally get a sequel to this thing as well too.
I really fucking hope so, man.
In what form, I do not know.
I know.
Because
I know.
this movie, in the end credit scene, well, there's one end credit scene. It's essentially the animated film, like it's
Hmm.
like the animated cartoon at the end. But the main one I wanted to talk to you about is the mid credit scene.
Hmm. Hmm.
And throughout the film, we have seen when Sue's talking at the United Nations, and she's talking with she's just asking for aid around the world.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the Future Foundation. It's not the United Nations.
Oh, it's like the Future
world.
Foundation, yeah. But essentially, that's what it is.
But it is the UN. Yeah. Yeah.
All the countries are there. What's the country that's not there, Griffin, with a representative?
Latveria.
And who is from Latveria?
Dr. Doom.
Dr. motherfucking Doom. And who is playing Dr. Doom, Griffin?
I really hope it's not Robert Downey Jr., but sadly it is.
Sadly, it will be Robert Downey Jr., Academy Award winner, Robert Downey Jr., his first project post Oppenheimer. And
famously Romani actor, Robert Downey Jr.
Exactly. We all know that. So we see that Sue is with Franklin. They're reading books, and this kid is super intelligent already. They jump 4 years into the future. He's like reading like Darwin and along with like Dr. Seuss. You know what I mean? So like he's a very smart boy. And Sue has this feeling, not more than just her powers, but then also a motherly instinct. And the camera goes around the corner, and supposedly this scene is all directed by Joe and Anthony Russo, and revealed to be sitting there talking with Franklin. Back to the camera, in a green cloak, is Dr. Doom, has the mask off, but clearly it is now connecting their universe to then what Reed opens up in this world, which is the wormholes and intergalactic travel,
right,
and time jumping, which is not something outside of the world of Marvel, but definitely for the 1960s/70s, that's impressive technology to be able to come up with.
right.
Where do you now see these characters, as well as, because this is it. We have nothing but this tease. Where do you think we're going, Griffin, with Avengers Doomsday? What is this storyline even potentially going to be?
I mean, unfortunately, I do think this storyline is going to be more or less the retread of what we just saw, which is like Doom trying to kidnap Franklin in order to exploit him, which is like, it's a little frustrating because it's just like, well, we just did that. It's like the only thing that these guys are going to face going to be that their child is going to get abducted.
So you think all the Avengers are going to have to center around them having to get Franklin back?
Yeah, because he's going to steal Franklin, and that's going to be the thing that's going to be the inciting incident. Now, whether or not this Doom is from their world or whether he's
That's a very fair point.
Whatever, because we didn't see him there at the Future Foundation, so clearly.
I think we can safely assume that this Doom is from their world.
That's sort of what I was thinking. I was like, okay, well, if it's going to be played by Robert Downey Jr., then he's probably from this world.
He's probably from that world because Griffin, I don't know if you know, in the other world, his name is Tony Stark, and he is dead.
Yeah, he's dead. He's big dead.
He's big time, big dead.
Yeah, I feel like what's going to happen is like he's probably going to like steal Franklin, and then like I don't know, he's like the Fantastic Four are going to try and come after him, but he's going to like jump in a portal or whatever and go to like the mainline MCU, and then that's going to be how it connects with the Thunderbolts, right? Where the ship is coming in and they see it on the monitor and they're like, "Yo, what the fuck is happening?" And they're like, "Hey, we're trying to get our kid back because this fucking maniac stole him." And so yeah, and then whatever happens there will happen. I have no idea. But then it's basically going to lead into like the Secret Wars thing where like Doctor Doom like breaks the multiverse or whatever, or like turns it into like a bunch of different. He partitions off the world so that it turns into like Battle World, which is like a bunch of different kinds of worlds within one place, and he's just kind of like the ruler of it all. So he'll probably I don't know if he'll like use Franklin as a way to do that. It seems like this baby is just a fucking MacGuffin at this point, so probably
you hope not.
You hope not. I don't have a lot of faith
Griffin,
in that
if
film,
that's not the case,
yeah,
if maybe he's just toying with him in the beginning there and he's really just finding the Fantastic Four.
Right.
What would then be the alternative? That Doom's become obsessed with like portal traveling and world domination.
Right. I mean, well, because of what, so first of all, like a big part of that film, Fantastic Four, is like Reed trying to transport their Earth to like another part of the multiverse or universe or whatever in order to save them from Galactus. And so he's able to like gather all these materials and power and get the world to work together in order to do that. And so you have to imagine that someone like Doom sees that and he's like, oh wow, this is a way for me to skip around and
conquer the world, conquer the universe.
Right, yeah, conquer the universe or whatnot. And so maybe he is going to the Fantastic Four as a friend or whatever, and then like going to be like, hey, let's work together on this project and maybe we can figure something out that doesn't require basically having the entire world's power grid on like a timer system. He's like, well, I have power because Dr. Doom has like mysticism and power and whatnot like that, so maybe I can help you achieve this. And then that'll probably be like a stepping stone to like build up Reed and Victor's relationship, because
that's going to be the core relationship that I guess goes forward for these two Avengers films, right?
Exactly. And like that's one of my biggest problems with them jumping right into Secret Wars is like we don't even know if they know each other. Exactly, right. And it's like they have a long-standing history, and the reason Secret Wars works is it's because these two men and their relationship is at the center of that.
Is that mostly in the comic books stemmed from a dueling relationship, not just because they're the two smartest men, but in the other films, there's also like this attraction that Victor has for Sue. In other words, is that in the comics, or is that just those in those movies?
From my knowledge, that's not like a comics thing. Like,
but they could add that.
Yeah, they could. I don't think it's really necessary.
Mostly just a petty rivalry.
Yeah, it's just a rivalry. Like Doom is all vanity and ego and like I mean he was like roommates with Reed in university, and that obviously caused some like resentment there, whatnot. But I mean these are like two of the greatest minds in the history of like the Marvel universe. And
would it have been better if they would have actually had a line of dialogue or it had just been like, think about it being like these.
I would have liked a scene. Yeah. I would have liked a scene versus
like, how like at the end of Ant-Man where it's a scene.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, I know a guy. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
right.
And like,
Yeah.
oh, the Accords are screwed and you're screwed. Da, 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 da.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
actually builds like that actually sets you up to like, okay, we kind of know what the story's going to be.
Right.
Like, wouldn't it have been better to be like, or he even be like, Victor, no, or something like that. Like something along the lines of like, or maybe Reed and the other Fantastic Four run in,
Yeah.
and they go, and then he like maybe disappears into a vortex or something, or
Right.
shows us a little bit of like what he's doing because it's so vague,
Yeah.
and it kind of feels like as if they're missing a movie. Like Fantastic, this is a good movie. There should be one more.
That precedes this movie. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There should be one more that precedes it. That's like comes
Yeah.
out in April. That's like
Yeah.
about like that's literally about like not just the Fantastic Four, but like wherever it's almost like they need a recap movie.
They do. Yeah.
Like a movie where everybody's all in it, and then they have, Doomsday or something like that. Because this is the problem with this phase, Griffin, is everyone's so spread out. So what's then the purpose? Because we know what Thanos' purpose is for an Avengers movie.
Right.
We kind of knew what Kang's purpose was when they were going down that little rabbit hole.
Well, that right there, this scene feels like it fits more in line with what they wanted to do with Kang, where you have like a descendant or whoever of the Richards that is going through time in order to steal this child who is a relative of his for whatever he wants to do with the powers and whatnot. So it's like part of me is a little concerned because I'm like, oh, it just kind of feels like you're retrofitting the Kang storyline in for Avengers Doomsday, and you're just like, oh, it's gonna be Doctor Doom, and it's like, well, I don't know. I feel like it's more compelling if it's like someone who has this resentment for his I don't know if it's ancestors or like future versions of it or whatever, but like that familial connection with Kang is like that makes sense. So that's a little frustrating. But
it is frustrating.
Yeah.
But are you looking forward to Doomsday now? Based off of seeing this film,
I don't care. I'll tell you, man. Like even if I'm like,
this movie, since you like this movie,
because
you know that
same team.
It's not going to be the same thing. Yeah.
It's the Russos. I have no faith in the Russos. Yep. This movie is being rewritten on the fly. They're bringing back Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. It's like they took this giant step forward, and now the next film we get is going to be kind of. I don't know. It just feels like we're going to revert back to just the bullshit that we were doing. And I mean, what I hope that Doomsday does is it kind of does what Infinity War did with the Guardians, which is that it added more to their story. We got a little bit more of that relationship. They were a compelling part of that series, but then whenever that saga is done, they just fuck off and do their own thing. And the Fantastic Four go back to their own universe. Because really, what I want to see is the sequel to this film. I don't want to see Avengers Doomsday. I want to see Fantastic Four 2. And Kevin Feige should have considered that. This should have been the first thing right out the gate post Endgame. They should have like made this a big triumphant return, and then they should have built off of this, because this is the foundation that they needed in order to get to where they wanted to go.
This is the problem that I've had. I'm like, who's the leader of the Avengers?
Well, they tell us it's Reed Richards, which makes a lot of sense. But
if I'm watching these films,
it's like you have
post
no
Endgame,
yeah.
I mean, I live in a world here.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's been erased. Nobody knows who Peter Parker is. They know Spider-Man's in the world, but they don't know Peter Parker. Right. All that history is erased. Doctor Strange is like going off with fucking Charlize Theron in this weird fucking end credit scene. Shang-Chi and the Eternals, they don't have sequels anywhere in sight. The Thunderbolts, they're the new Avengers. They're fighting, I guess, with Sam over who is the Avengers, right? Because probably Sam's got like Avengers Classic with like Hulk, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
And, Yelena and them are the new Avengers, or whatever. And then like, that puts a rift with him and Bucky. But then where's Captain Marvel? Where's...
The less we see of her, the better.
But she's one of the most powerful beings in the universe.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like, regardless of what you think of the Marvels, she is an essential part. She's literally one of the few people that like could go face to face with any of these bad guys left or right. Like she almost like took down Thanos in that Avengers fight single-handedly. Where's Ant-Man and that whole fucking family there? Where are all these people? Where's Thor? You know, where are the new Guardians, and what do you do with the old Guardians? What do you do with you know, because they're not like dead.
No.
But they're still technically a part of all this.
Right.
You know what I mean? So again, the whole thing has been scatter them. And is then at that point, then I see it being weirdly, they're going to do Avengers Infinity War with Doom, where he is going to have some sort of oracle way of looking at the world and realize that his planet was marked for death. And he has to find another similar Earth in another timeline that he can control that doesn't have the dominion of the Fantastic Four, because he can and so he goes to try to conquer it. And that's the Earth that we've seen throughout the rest of the multiverse is the original Marvel Earth. And he just starts taking off people one by one, and he can do that because there's no united Avengers. And then when people start becoming left and right, like taken down, you know, because for God's sakes, there's even the Black Panther storyline and Namor and all these other people. Jesus Christ, there's so many fucking characters.
Forgot about that.
But if he starts taking them off one by one, alerts around the galaxy start coming into fold. That's when the Fantastic Four come in to try to, you know, warn them of potentially this, you know. There's so much stuff that they have to fucking do, and it's going to be frustrating. This movie has to be 4 hours long. This has to be 4 hours long. There's no fucking way it can't be, because there's so much. The first hour is going to have to explain everything. The second hour can then kick off the story. Then the fourth hour is just going to be fucking leaving you with the cliffhanger. And the third hour is going to be a bunch of action. It has to be 4 hours. I think that they should learn from Christopher Nolan, and that they should learn from Brady Corbet. Make an unabashed epic.
Sure.
Put an intermission in it. You'll miss.
Well, they have two movies.
It's still
2 movies.
Oh, bullshit! Not even that. That one needs to be 4 hours too. Like
they do,
because they're going to reboot the whole thing after that. And supposedly they're supposed to have a Spider-Man movie in between.
Yeah.
And
I think the movies that happen between Doomsday and Secret Wars. So I think Doomsday is going to end with like Doom like shattering the universe, or whatever, and then we get a bunch of like Battle World movies, which are going to be this weird, just like genre bending kind of like isolated stories that take place in the new status quo that Doom establishes, which I think could be really
But the Spider-Man movie is going to literally just be a continuation from the last one.
Right, which is why I'm like, okay, so I guess Spider-Man lives in normal New York City. Like,
but also like too, he's like that movie also, there's rumors that like they're going to do the No Way Home thing again. There's also like, you also have to contextualize with the fact that like, how are you going to like unsnap that, and is there a way to unsnap that without undoing everything that Doctor Strange did, like to get Spider-Man back?
I have no
what
idea.
are the rules about that? You know what I mean?
It's just a mess. They're gonna have to ignore
such a
stuff,
fucking
honestly.
mess.
Yeah, it is a mess.
And this is the problem. Like, but Feige's got.
I don't care.
He's got like 3-4 films to figure it out, and then he's gonna bail. And then I hear they have an opening at Star Wars.
That's true.
He's long wanted that.
He does. Yeah. They could use him, to be honest.
Do you think that if Kevin Feige announced tomorrow that he's going to take over Star Wars from Kathleen Kennedy, he could get the fan base back on board?
Probably. Yeah. Probably. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't think he's burnt a lot of goodwill from Marvel, but the brand has kind of lost a lot of goodwill.
But who's not the brand if not him?
Right. So you kind of have that you're dealing with. That being said, there is no denying what he's accomplished, and I think I mean they'll reboot Marvel and he'll move over to Lucasfilm. I could see something like that for sure.
Yeah.
But
all right, Griffin. Well, it's the last time we're going to talk about Marvel for a long time.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
That's okay.
I'm okay with
we can
that.
talk about other things. We can talk about other movies.
There's more to life than Marvel.
There's more to life than Marvel. So I'm glad they made a good movie, though.
I am too. Yeah.
So
genuinely.
that's the only good hope, but that next one's going to be bleak. Okay, Griffin, tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet.
Yeah, for sure. You can catch me and my videos over at the Film Speak channel. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, all the socials at Griff Schiller.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd at Ryan McQuade 77. If you like podcasts, we've got podcasts aplenty this week. We're going to have an awards preview. We're going to have director watch episodes. There's a lot going on, so we're going to be having to kick things up. It's getting to that time, Griffin, where it's the film festivals and falls are coming, and there's so much shit out there, and we got to talk about it. And essentially, we've got the TIFF lineup, the Venice lineup. The New York's going to start announcing. Then we'll start figuring out what's at Telluride, and then AFI and Middleburg and everything Mill Valley, everything in between. We'll cover it all. We'll talk about it all, and then all the movies that are going to be coming out in between as well too. And we'll be excited about those. iTunes, Spotify, 5-star reviews greatly appreciated. While you're over on the website, please sign up for the newsletter. It is the best place to get all the news, reviews, interviews, and podcasts sent to you all in one place. And that's by signing up for that Awards Watch newsletter that you're going to find at awardswatch.com. Griffin, next week, well, Griffin won't be here next week, sadly. But we will be doing another retrospective on the films of 1990. Later this week, if you've not already heard it, you will hear myself, Eric, Sophia. We will be previewing these lineups that have come out and maybe giving a little bit of a preview on what we think are currently the Oscar contenders to look out for, maybe give you a prediction or two. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you all next time.